we're learning in Tzaddik Beit, we're learning the laws of what happens if a drop of milk falls on a piece of meat that's in a pot of meat. And we said that there's a big argument over here between Rashi and the Ri. The Ri is, what do I say, Rabbi Yitzchak ben Shimon or ben Shimshon, one of the Bali Tosfos. And the argument is, what happens if a drop of milk falls on a piece of meat that's halfway submerged, or partially submerged in the stew? And the Ri says, this Rabbi Yitzchak says that it is as though the milk fell into the stew, and the whole entire stew can negate it. If there's 60 times as much in the whole entire stew against the milk, then the whole thing is permissible. And Rashi says, no, if the milk fell on a drop of meat that's just sticking out of the stew, just sticking out, then that piece alone becomes forbidden. And if you stir up the pot, if you don't take that piece out, according to the Taz, you don't even have to take the piece out, then that makes the whole entire business forbidden. Let's see, straight here. There we go. Then that makes, if you stir it up, then you're going to have 60 against not just the drop, 60 against the whole entire piece. You have 60 in the pot against that whole entire piece. If the piece doesn't have 60 in it against the milk, the piece itself has to have 60 against the milk. In other words, the pot soup does not help to negate the drop of milk, like Ri says it does. Rashi says it does not. The piece itself has to fight against the milk. If the piece has 60 in it, everything is okay. If the piece does not have 60 in it, then that piece alone becomes forbidden. And this brings us into a very interesting law. And I'm not going to go too much into this law, just so that you know that there is such a law like this. And if you want to become a rabbi, you come to the yeshiva and we'll teach you a little bit deeper after the Corona is finished. Here we have Tzaddik Base. And where is this? Okay, that was base. Did we have Gimel? Gimel. Okay, this brings us to law number 3, Gimel, in Tzaddik Base. And this is sort of the center of the laws of milk and meat. And it is called Chaticha Naset Nevela. Chaticha Naset Nevela. We talked about this before. Milk and meat is a very unusual law. Totally nonsensical. Makes no sense whatsoever. Don't try, because it doesn't make any sense. Milk is permissible. Meat is permissible. As soon as you boil them together, it becomes forbidden. One of the strictest prohibitions in the Torah. You can't even get pleasure from it, right? If you have a piece of pork or something like that, or a dead cow, you can sell it. You can make a profit from it. You're not supposed to make a profit from forbidden things, but occasionally you can. You sell a pork. You can give the pork to your dogs to eat or something if you want. The milk and meat, no, you can't. It's forbidden. Asur b'hana. We learned that right in the first law. Okay, but there's another stringency over here that goes like this. Let's learn number Gimel. We skipped a lot. In law number base, there's a lot of details about this falling a drop of milk on a piece of meat and what the law is if the whole piece becomes forbidden. But it was hinted at this next law, law number Gimel. Kishenesra chaticha. When a piece becomes forbidden, machmat achalav, because of the milk that fell on it. And there's a piece of meat that is boiling hot, and there falls on it a drop of milk, and there is not in the meat 60 times against the milk. Let's say for our purposes, that is 1 gram of milk falls onto 59 grams of meat. A piece, 59 grams. So what do we say that the meat becomes forbidden? But what exactly is forbidden over here? Is the milk forbidden? Milk is permissible. Is meat forbidden? Meat is permissible. When they come together, it makes a new creation called milk and meat. And therefore we say that the meat, nase kol chaticha iser, the whole entire piece of meat becomes forbidden. It is no longer a piece of meat that has milk in it. It is no longer a piece of meat that has milk in it. And that if that piece would fall into, let's say, a pot that had 100 grains, what did I say? 100 grams of milk. I'm sorry, I had 100 grams of meat. That piece of meat fell into a pot that had 100 grams of meat, and there's only 1 gram of milk. In the whole entire mixture, there's only 1 gram of milk. And this piece of meat that had 59 grams, just 1 gram short of being permissible, it fell into a pot that has 100 grams. So you might think, okay, now there's more than 60. The milk is, it's now negated. The taste of the milk for sure is not there anymore. The whole thing is forbidden. And I'll tell you even more. If that piece of meat fell into a pot that has 3,500 grams of meat, the whole thing is forbidden. Why? Because that piece of meat, which is 59 grams of meat, now becomes 59 grams of Isser, Nevela. The whole thing is forbidden. And now you have to have 60 against that piece of meat. That piece of meat is 59. What's 60 against 59? 60 against 59 is 3,540. If you have it.
Add a little more water to the soup.
What'd you say? What did you say?
Add some more water to the soup.
Once that soup becomes forbidden, if it's milk and meat, then you can't do anything. Listen, what you're saying is very good. What you're saying is a very good point. There's another law which we'll learn in Taruvos. Ein mevatlin iser lechatchila. You are not allowed to negate an iser intentionally. In other words, you cannot take let's say, a gram of butter and throw it into 60 grams, 100 grams, 1,000 grams of meat. You can't do that. It's forbidden to do. It's going to be permissible. But you're not allowed to negate an iser intentionally. You're not allowed to do it. So here we have a really severe case, right? You have, the fact of the matter is it's even worse than this, but when we learn the laws of a chaticha royal iskabed, that's going to be even worse. That's even worse. Then you can have a case where there's a steak, totally kosher steak, and there falls on it milk, and there's not 60 in the steak against the milk. The whole steak becomes forbidden, but not only does it become forbidden, it becomes what we call, if it's a nice steak, it becomes a chaticha, a royal itkabed. It becomes what we call an important piece, and if this steak falls into 100 million steaks that are similar to this steak, and you can't tell this steak from the others, right? There's making Mashiach comes, and all the Jews are coming from all the world. They're all coming to Israel. All the Jews woke up from, Russia. There's tens of millions of Jews, and they all come to Israel, and you're making a steak for each one of them, right? Each one of them you steak. And one person, one evil guy, takes one steak, and he puts milk on it, and he boils it, which is an avera, and he boils it. Now that steak becomes totally forbidden, and it becomes what's called important, and he throws that steak into all the others, and you can't tell the difference. All the 100 million steaks are all forbidden. Because it's called Yisur Machmas Atzma. We'll learn about those laws when we get to Kuf Yud. It's Kuf Aleph, sorry. Okay, so here we have the law. When a piece becomes forbidden, then that piece becomes totally forbidden. If it's milk and meat, then you have to have 60 to both of the whole thing. And im matiro mashlicha, if you can find it, then all the others are forbidden. If it's one piece, it becomes forbidden. You have to have 60 against it. But if you can find that piece and take it out, then all you have to have 60 in it, because the taste is not under, you have to have 60 against it. If you don't recognize it, then all of the juice will be okay, But all the other pieces are going to be forbidden if the chaticha was royally tkabed, and that's what I said before. So if you have 100 million beautiful steaks, kosher steaks, and on one of those steaks there falls milk, and you can't tell which piece it fell on, then all of the steaks are all forbidden. They're all forbidden. But what about, let's say, if there's a soup? The soup, if there's 60 against one steak, then it's all permissible. The taste is only... Interesting law. These are the laws of Eurodea, the laws of Judaism.
Well, back to sort of my question. If it was just a little, you had a drop of milk, fall on a piece of meat, and it goes into a big pot, and it's less than 1/60th. Can you do anything to save it by adding some more water to the soup?
Oh. Can't do it. Nothing you can do, especially if it's meat. If milk fell on meat, right, then you can't do. If it's an other isser, if it's another isser, that's going to be the next law if you want to. What if it's not milk that fell on this meat? What if it was shrimp juice that fell on the meat? Do we say the same law? Do we say that the piece becomes 100% usser? Or do we say that it's just a piece that has more than 1/60th of isser in it, so therefore the piece is forbidden? And then if that piece by accident falls into a bunch of other pieces, then all those pieces will come, all you have to have is one more. Let me just give you an example. You have 1 ounce of shrimp juice, and it falls onto a potato that's 50 ounces big, and it boils. Now that potato is forbidden, because it's a potato that has 50-ounce potato that has 1 ounce of shrimp juice on it, boiling inside of it, and it's forbidden. It's not 60. But if that potato falls into a pot that it just has, let's say, 10 ounces of water, then those 10 ounces of water will add on to the 50 ounces of potato, and that'll negate the 1 ounce of shrimp juice.
There's a little problem.
One minute. Did you understand that law?
Yeah, but there's a problem. You're doing liquid with weight. The shrimp juice is a liquid. That's not the same thing as 1 ounce.
Let's say 1 ounce in volume. Okay, 1 ounce in volume, same thing. Let's say what is it? Grams and cubic centimeters. I think grams and cubic centimeters are the same thing. So if I make a gram of water, a gram of this, anyway, whatever it is, let's say volume. Okay, volume will make you happy. Then we'll say volume. So we have a potato that has the volume of 50 ounces, right? 50 ounces, it will displace 50 ounces of water. If you put that potato into 50 ounces, it will displace. And that on that potato falls 1 ounce of shrimp juice, and it boils together. The potato is totally forbidden. And then that potato falls into 10 ounces of water. Now that 10 ounces of water will add up to the 50 ounces, because all we have to do is just negate the taste. And 60 negates the taste. So the 10 ounces of water taste and the 50 ounces of potato taste will negate the 1 ounce of shrimp juice taste. Good? That's if it fell in accidentally. That's the opinion of the Machaber, but the Ramah does not agree. The Ramah says that the same way it is with milk and meat, so it is with all other Isurim, that the piece itself becomes Nevela. That the piece itself becomes Nevela. In other words, that potato, according to the Ramah, Reb Moshe Isserles, this is the Ashkenazic opinion, if 1 ounce of shrimp juice falls on that potato, that's 50 ounces potato, now you have to have 60 times 50. The whole potato becomes forbidden, and now you have to have 60 times 50. What's 60 times 50? 3,000. So only if you have 3,000 ounces, whatever, of heter, of permissible things, will that potato become permissible? Will the mixture become permissible? It should become permissible. You have to have, because he says, Chaticha nasa nevela b'shar isurim, that a piece becomes forbidden in all isurim. That's going to be
Rabbi
the next
Bolton.
Dalit.
Rabbi Bolton, I have 2 quick questions.
Please.
Go back to the steaks.
Steaks.
Got a bunch of T-bone steaks.
Oh, yeah.
And a drop of milk gets on top of one of those T-bone steaks.
They're all boiling hot.
Yeah, everything is hot.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can actually see the drop and where it fell, but it's a big T-bone steak. Can you take that steak out and cut out the portion where the milk fell, or is it asur right away? And it also ruins all the others right away.
Listen, if there's 60 in it, if there's for sure 60 in that steak against the milk, then the whole entire steak is permissible. But you're right. You should try, if you can, to cut around that area, let's say 1 thumb breadth or something around that area where the milk fell. But on the other hand, I don't know. I mean, don't tell your guests, if they're religious people, if that's what you did, because I don't know if anyone's going to eat it. And if anyone will eat it. And, I mean, you probably won't eat it yourself. But you're right. If it's 60, it's permissible. Yeah.
And a related question. We know that the Ein Sof is very concerned about the finances of the Yidden. And a person who is, or even a group, a big Chabad banquet, and at the Kinos or something, and something like this happens, and there's no question that they fouled up 1,000 out of the 2,000 steaks. Is it a total loss, or can you give McDonald's milk with chopped meat?
I'll tell you even more. Even one steak, if one steak becomes forbidden, one T-bone steak, and you don't know which one it is.
Right, sure.
And you don't know where it is. You don't know where it is. They all got mixed in together. If you knew it was on that table, something.
Right.
You don't know where, then all the steaks are forbidden. There's nothing you can do. That's it. Even if it's going to be a big loss, there are certain laws where if it's going to be a hefsed maruba, it's going to be a big loss. We learned it before. We learned in the Shulchan Aruch. It's going to be a big loss if you can go lenient. Why can you go lenient? Because there is an opinion. And we're talking about the regular God-fearing genius rabbis that know all the laws, and there are among them opinion that these are talking about all Rishonim, 400 years ago. There are all opinions. There are opinions that are lenient. So it says, therefore, because there are some opinions that are lenient, but the majority of the opinions are severe, and these people are no less God-fearing than the lenient opinion. So therefore, you should always rely on the normal opinion. But if it's a big loss, the Shulchan Aruch sometimes says that therefore you can rely on the lenient opinion. You can rely on it. But I mean, let's take ourselves. How many times would a person, if it's going to be a big loss, you say, well, because it's a big loss, so I can eat it. I mean, would you really eat it? The only reason you're eating it is because it's a big loss. So and based on that, you would eat it. They announce in the Keres HaShluchim that, if all the steaks are treif, unless it's a big loss, but because it is a big loss, so everyone can eat away. No one would eat. Who's going to eat, right? The Rav said that because it would be a big loss if we threw away all the steaks, so therefore we just wanted everybody to know that it's okay to eat your steaks. No one in that place would eat the steaks, right? The waiters and the would have just one most wonderful time after this because they would have 5,000 steaks to eat. No one would eat it.
That would be a wedding that they talked about for a long time.
That would be a kenes to remember, right? Okay, my friends. 8:15 tomorrow morning, we are continuing the Maimon.